The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show. Here we go.
Yes, sir. Y'all know what time it is. 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast. Boss and the Sauce Show time. How you feeling, Big Ragoo?
I'm feeling saucy today, man. How you feeling? You feeling bossy?
Oh, I'm always feeling bossy, man. But I'm trying to tread lightly this week because we still don't have a great sample size, so it's hard to read the numbers right here. And these teams are improving and regressing, and a lot of teams kind of got things, in the way that it's going. So it's gonna be a tough week, I think. But I've seen some good spots. Seen plenty of good spots that we can get involved.
You 5-0 last week. What tread lightly? Come back hard like you did last week.
Hey, I'm gonna give 4 instead of 5. That's treading lightly.
All right, that's good. I'll take it. All right, let's keep this party going, like you say. It's
absolutely.
We got at least we got 8 games, 9 games we're going to talk about tonight. So yeah. I'll let you kick it off, and then I'll follow suit. And then you jump it back to me. Then we'll bounce it back and forth and see how it goes.
Yeah. Before we go into that, though, we must reflect last week's great 7-1 on the show. I went 5-0. Big Ragoo went 2-1. We did everything from Friday night games to Saturday late games, and we were winning and cashing the whole time. So
yeah,
let's get it back going and bring it for the people, man. We do this for y'all.
Bring that energy, man. It was a lot of fun. We've had a good run since we started to show up, so we'll keep it going.
Absolutely. Big shout out to my man G Martinez and all other 8,000 people in there watching. And hey, if you got any questions, hop in the chat, let us know. And if you're against our pick or what, hop in the chat, let us know. It's Snizzle in the house. What's up? It's Snizzle. He says, "What's good, my guys? Ragoo the legend and Big Boss. What up, thou?" But yeah, man, I'm gonna keep this energy going. I'm gonna jump right into my first pick, man. It's one that I had a play last week, maybe on the Saturday show, but it wasn't a part of the Boss and the Sauce show. But actually, the play cash on both sides that I gave on the Saturday show, and that was with Notre Dame. Didn't really want to fall for what they had going on last week with Notre Dame, so I kind of played it to the side. It was one of my personal plays, not something that I gave out to the masses. But this week, this probably the first one jumped off the page is the 1.5 point spread. Initially, it was Notre Dame -1. They didn't bet it to all the way on the other side of the line. 1.5 over here for North Carolina. And I totally agree with the 1.5 for North Carolina. I'm jumping on North Carolina. I also like the under. I'm sticking with the under. I'm not running away from the under no more. Last week, I got it all the way down to the 0.5 point. So I'm staying with the under in this one. They're on the road, so they gotta do the best they can and what they do best at, and that's defense. But I don't think there's no answer for what's going on the offensive side of the ball. It's obviously the quarterback can barely get the ball out to the great big Michael Myers tight ends and some of the talent that we have over at receiver, and also in the running backs perspective, not quite getting the oomph that we need. No dual backs or nothing, no real threat, just a bunch of guys playing by committee, so they haven't proven themselves as well. Then on the other hand, my man Mac Brown, I talked bad over there about
Whack Brown, like you like to say.
Whack Brown and Sam Howell last year, but they got rid of the quarterback, and Mac Brown's still here and he's still progressing. I think he did level up his team this year. It's the first year he got a chance to do the full workouts and stuff without all the COVID stuff. But just a little note for North Carolina that in 2020, it was 17-17 at halftime versus Notre Dame. And in 2021, UNC actually led 20-17 going into the third quarter, but ultimately lost 34-44. But my point is, this team's not afraid to get involved with Notre Dame. They take this game seriously on all levels, no matter if this was UNC versus Notre Dame in basketball, football, lacrosse, baseball. these guys are going to take this game seriously. And at this point, North Carolina is basically the better team at what they do. Notre Dame is a little upside down, scoring 18 points a game, giving up 21 points a game. And North Carolina, on the other hand, they off the hook. They giving up, 44 points a game and scoring 49 points a game. So the offense is rolling. And I think there's a misconception with this defense. Although they play really tough on the field, they happen to miss the big plays. They happen to allow the runs and the passing yards to add up on them. And it goes all into the dynamic of football of you got the offense got to stay on the field long enough for the defense to catch a breath. When you're playing 4 quarters, that gets the best of you in the fourth. So give me North Carolina and also taking the under 59.5 full game.
You like that, huh? You going against your team. 1 and 2, your team.
I'm going for the money. That's where I'm going.
I know it. Listen, we take money to the bank. We take our feelings to bed. That's all right. No problem there. You know what? I got to disagree with you just a little bit on this one. I got a couple reasons why, but now that Freeman's got his first W, put that one in the books, right? I didn't hear that come off your lips yet, though. By the way, they got the first W on the Freeman, right? They took the upset against Marshall, and they came out of the game with Notre Dame. I mean, with Ohio State game 1. That was a tough game for them. They had the lead in the first half, 10-0. So they stepped up against a quality opponent. And I measure this game one or two ways. I look at the Ohio State game, then I look at the Marshall game, and I say that was a tough beat for them. But after they come off their win last week, what's the linebacker's name? Bertrand. He got tossed for like a targeting call, which I think he's probably one of the better players in that game. And I did have Cal in that game on the team total. I cracked it barely, 16.5. They scored 17, so I cashed that ticket. So I kind of went about it in a different way. I just figured that Cal would maybe score some points in that game. But here again, Notre Dame's 3 games, 2 solid defensive efforts. The really letdown game was the Marshall game, the big game there. But now Tommy Rees, your OC, with the quarterback Drew Payne, they've been having some struggles without a doubt there. But coming into this particular spot here, like you had mentioned, they have played NC tough up and down the field, both ways, whether they've been lower scoring affairs or higher scoring affairs. And to me, NC is one of those teams that kind of plays to their opponent's level. If you go back and you look at when they played App State, they were marching up and down the field, and then they played the lower scoring games. Whoever they play, they rise and fall to their opponent's level. I think Notre Dame might be up to the task in this one, just to keep it close. They don't have to win, but I do like the fact that they did have that win. They got that first W. They got the monkey off their back now, and I think Freeman will rally the troops and play a solid game here with UNC. That's just my gut feeling. I just got a feeling that there's a good win last week. They got the W. They got that done. Now it's off to bigger and better things. We'll see how they get. I mean, they started out number 5 nationally. Maybe they were overhyped just a little bit, possibly, but I think these boys will play for Freeman. And just like Mac Brown's boys will play for him, I think we're going to see a real strong competitive game. And don't be surprised if your boys sneak this one away.
If they sneak it away, much love to them. They hit me in the pocket again. I bought another win for my team. But I know, the team Notre Dame and the school, they always try to hold us up there and give us the benefit of the doubt. But, I mean, when you're bad, you're bad. I just see bad. Even from the Marshall game to the Cal game, I see no improvement. I just seen them playing a team that was less talented. And, the few things that they could do started working for them a little bit. So I wasn't even expecting to win there. So
I agree.
I'm going to fade them again.
I got to agree with you offensively, but defensively, I have no qualms with this team. Like I said, they played maybe a team. Cal's not really a offensive juggernaut. Marshall's got big improvements on the offense. That they had big step up, with the changes over there, especially at quarterback. So, they're raring to go, Marshall. So they maybe I'm not gonna say they were sleeping on Marshall because I doubt they were, but they just executed a better game plan than Notre Dame in that spot. But I have no complaints about the 2 games that they played with Cal or Ohio State. So we'll see what happens going forward.
That's okay. Well, let's jump into one of the games that you like here. Coming up first, here we go. Maryland at Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan is 16.5-point favorite. Over and under is 65. That's what I've seen today.
Yeah.
What you got on that one?
Man, I'll tell you what, both of these teams started off quick. Maryland's off to 3-0 start. Michigan's off to 3-0 start. Now, if you go back and look at Michigan's schedule a little bit, it's really light. I mean, and this is the first I think this is the first conference game for both of these teams, if I'm not mistaken. Have to go back and look. But anyways, I mean, Michigan, they're averaging over 50 points a game right now. And over the years in this particular matchup, when Michigan has played, when they played Maryland, they've won an average of by 21 points in each one of those games. Now, Lashley, I like what he's done with the offense. Baby Tua, like we like to call him, last year he had a pretty decent game against Michigan. He was able to move the ball, but it didn't equate to the cover, obviously, because, like I say, I think Michigan has owned this. I think they're won like the last 10 or something like that. It's a big number how they've dominated this series, against Maryland. But here we go. We got double digits again. They're looking at 16.5. But McCarthy's been pretty solid on offense, with Michigan. I mean, what's not to like with what they're doing? I think Michigan right now is the best, the best offensive juggernaut in the Big Ten right now. But they like I say, early sample size like you like to talk about early on here, and they beat up on a lot lesser opponents. And I just think going forward, it's going to be a high scoring affair. I have to see that Michigan defense against a quality offense, and we haven't seen that yet. And I think Maryland presents that opportunity here in this game. So I like the over here. I think it's a good over spot. We're sitting at 65. It's kicked up from 62 on the open, and even I'm still comfortable with the 65 points here. Even if Michigan, wins by margin, I'm pretty sure that that Maryland is going to be able to move the ball early on against this team. So I maybe even lean the first half over, depending on what it is, just so they make their adjustments, and we'll see how the defenses tighten up. But I can see this game, being like in the 40s for Michigan, and probably the high 20s or 30s for Maryland here. So I'm on the over in this spot here.
On the over, I mean, I agree totally what you're saying about Michigan playing a quality team, but they kind of revved up. They've been playing teams that they could score a lot of points on really early in the season, which, with a coach like Harbaugh, like he's going to build off of that. So they're going to be coming into this game, I believe, with a lot of momentum. And this Maryland team, I think Tua, he's improved as well, because their offense is kind of going too. These are two really high-powered offenses right here, meeting up there, but not enough for me to pull the trigger. I'm always weary of two teams that look very similar together. And Maryland's offense scoring is kind of similar to Michigan, and we still got questions on both of them defense. So, I mean,
you want to look back.
That's a good. You always want to have questions on defense when you're going for.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. I mean, especially like first out against a better, in conference and a quality, a team that's 3-0 right now, and they probably played 2 lesser opponents where Michigan's probably played 3. I mean, Michigan opened up against Colorado State 51-7, Hawaii 56-10, and UConn 59-0. So those are 3. I wouldn't call in the olden days, you wouldn't call Colorado State and Hawaii exactly cupcakes like UConn is, but the way they're playing now, I have to say yes. So 3 easy games, and they weren't scheduled that way, I'm sure, because these games were scheduled a few years back, I'm sure. So it's not like they just handpicked these teams and said, "Hey, we're going to open up these guys." That was something that was done years ago. So it just happened to fall that way for them right now.
Absolutely. Well, let me take y'all down over by the Mississippi River with this Tulsa and Ole Miss game. Gonna be a pretty good matchup overall, but I haven't gave out the lane train on the Boston and Saw show, but I always been following the lane train thus far on the Saturday show. And I think this is a point on I'm going to lean on the lane train right now because I really believe in the lane train. The thing that's overseen by most people with this one is Lane got defense over there now. That defense only let up 13 points for the season. And, they play some cupcakes here and there, but they play some decent competition as well. Tulsa, on the other hand, I think we had some real high expectations for them coming out. Them losing to Wyoming in overtime, kind of meh on the season. So we're not kind of sure where this is going. But I think this is just the books trying to lure in some people who's still on a natural high of Tulsa almost beating Texas A&M a few years back. This is not the team to try that with this Ole Miss team. Lane is always heavy on offense. He'll beat you in the fourth quarter for 32 points if he has to. He doesn't mind running the score up on anybody. And he's got the defense that he's always wanted going into this, going into the conference play next. This is the last chance before he hits conference play to get another impressive win in, to get the troops fired up going into conference play. And I think he takes advantage of Tulsa right here. I liked it at 20, 21 and a half. Books, you're pushing it. 21 would be great, but it's probably going to be another 42-10 blowout or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and endorse the 21 and a half. And I like Ole Miss, but I find a lot more value for those who out there who's toggle between on the total and taking the under, because the misconception is that Ole Miss defense is not as good as they are, and Tulsa may be able to score points. And that's, like I said, that's the misconception. This Mississippi team, they've blown teams out 42-10, and they're taking care of business in a legit way. So I don't think the total gets over 65. I think they keep Tulsa definitely under 3 touchdowns, maybe about 10 points or 2 touchdowns max, and they get a little bit above that and cover the number for us. So taking Ole Miss minus the 21 and a half and the under 65 in that one.
Yeah, Ole Miss. They played they opened up against a decent Troy squad. Good look for them. And then Central Arkansas, little FCS, cupcake, and Georgia Tech last week, right? They shellacked them 42-0. So yeah, this is probably going to be not their top. I would say either them or Troy. I'd say they're better than Troy Tulsa, maybe slightly, but for the most part, the numbers are the same. They laid 21 in that game, and they come out 28-10. So Tulsa is one of these teams that they can sneak up and bite you. But yeah, I would have to say their defense is probably where it's at right now to go at their offense. Last year Matt Corral was the guy. He's gone. So now they're, it's the next step over there. And like you said, they're going to step up. I guess their big thing right now, they're focusing on, the lane train's always about airing it out, but they're 5th in rushing right now in the nation. They're averaging 272 yards a game with 12 touchdowns. So far, I would say they're more of a balanced attack. But, that's not going to be for long because, going in, they probably just want to kind of establish some things on the offense, give everybody some different looks. And then once they get into conference play, that they'll change it up again. So, yeah, I don't have an argument. I don't have a spot here on this particular game, but you won't get an argument back from me saying that, they won't cover that number. So, and I agree with you. I would lean probably towards the under here too, especially with the way they've kind of went at the running game and then, with a more balanced attack. So, and their defense stepping up. So, yeah, I would lean towards the under here.
Nice. I appreciate that. Now let's take it to the next game on your card, which is Clemson versus Wake Forest. That's right up your alley, right?
One of my favorite matchups. This is a series that's been totally dominated by Clemson, and they won like the past 10 meetings in this matchup years gone by with Clemson and Wake Forest. I'm a big Wake Forest guy. In a lot of spots, mostly first halves. I like them. Like last week, if you bet Wake full game, you lost. But if you bet them in the first half, you cover there. But CLEMSON and Hartman, that's a winning combination in my book. And then the OC that they have, what's his name here? I forget right now. But anyways, both these coaches started out FCS level, and then they got together at Bowling Green many years ago. That was his first coaching job for Wake Forest, the head coach. And then when he left Wake Forest, he took the OC with him. But what they really do is they run this RPO offense, and it's even though it's RPO, it's got a little bit of a twist. So what people don't understand about the RPO, it's always run pass option, right? But in their particular instance, it's a run first offense, and if the run is not there, then they revert to the pass and then the option play. But they have a way of doing it that's a little bit different. But Clemson's so familiar with how they do it. They always crash the tackles, and then it brings the ends in. So they have a hard time executing this offense against Clemson. And Clemson's defense is a top-tier defense to start out with. And then you have the familiarity with these guys and how they do it. It's like the same looking into a book. If you read the book once, you read it again, It always happens this way with these two teams. So I mean, they're both undefeated. Clemson's 1-2 ATS. Wake Forest is 2-1. The overs are 2-1 with Wake. The unders 1-2 with Clemson. Now, Clemson has the offensive has some offensive challenges with DJU at quarterback. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'll just call him DJU. Easy for me to do that. But we got two polar opposites here as far as defense and offenses go. So where they meet in the middle, I'm always about the defense. I always think defense always can neutralize a good offense. And not to say that Wake is not going to get their share of points, but I could see Wake maybe pulling a small upset because of the fact that because Clemson can't score. They're having major trouble scoring. Going back years gone by, Clemson's offenses were always pretty prolific. They always had, Heisman Trophy candidates, like had Watson and the kid at Jacksonville that's playing now. So, they had some struggles at offense, and they're even talking about a quarterback change here. So I don't know if that equates to an automatic W for Wake, but it does bring some challenges for Clemson to put points up. But Wake, you can run on Wake a little bit. I think their pass defense is a little better than a run defense, but I'm curious here. This is a spot I normally would say, you know what, give me Wake Forest or give me Clemson. But this year I'm going to take a little bit of pause on this one, and I'm going to back the Demons. Getting the hook. I think that hook's going to come into play today, 7.5. So I like Clemson. I like Wake Forest plus 7.5 here. Full game.
Hey, I like that. I like that too because this Wake team, for the little bit that I've seen, they're trending up. They've definitely in a year of improvement. The offense is flowing, fluid. Looks like the coach has everybody bought in. And this Clemson team is going to be the biggest test for them, I believe, so far coming out in this season. This will really show if everything as far as their defense supposed to be back and all that stuff is true. But I like the look and, having a few points in your hand in a nice – is this considered an official rival game?
Oh, yeah, for years. They're in the same when Clemson didn't get to the ACC championship game, it was Wake that had that was the first time they won it. They won the ACC championship. So that was the year Clemson got out. I don't know if it was the pandemic year or the year after. It might have been last year. I got to go back and look. But I think it was last year. I think Wake won the ACC. No, because Pittsburgh won it that year. I think Pittsburgh won the ACC. Who did Pittsburgh be? I can't remember now. But anyways, Wake played in the ACC championship game that year that Clemson wasn't there. So, and they have, we always have Clemson. You always have Miami and FSU and Clemson at the top of the heat. But it was Wake's turn that time. But it's been a while for FSU, and it's been a minute for Miami too. So, what you got going next? Where you going next?
Let me see where I'm gonna take y'all to next. We're gonna jump on over to this one right here. This one I consider I consider more of a I don't know. It's not my favorite play out of all my 4 plays that I have so far, but it's one that's consistent enough for me to play it again. We were one of the sleeper teams I gave out last week, along with Kansas, was this ODU team, and the books caught up more to Kansas than they did to ODU. This line that originally opened up at 3 has been bet up to 6.5. OD is coming home on a year where they've been performing well. They play an Arkansas State team that hasn't been performing well themselves. The whole rah-rah over Arkansas State and Butch Jones, it's kind of dying down at this point. Arkansas State is 1-3 ATS in Sun Belt Road openers, and they also 3-5 ATS on the road since last year. So, you know, a lot of little points fade Arkansas State for coming alive right here. And I just think it's an OD time for them to celebrate at home with their fans. They're having a great season. I think the offense actually picks up because the offense is supposed to be the strong part of this team, but the defense has been playing really well as well. So we've seen the offense, even in a slow game against a great defense that they played last week in the fourth quarter when they needed it, they were able to score. They just happened to score too fast and allow Virginia to come back and kick a field goal and win the game by 2 points. So we're not getting the points. I would love to be getting some points with ODU, but this is the time I'm just going to throw some paint on the wall, hope it stick, and take ODU minus 6.5.
It's a tough game here. You got 2 1-win teams, and like you said, jumping into conference play. OD is at home, like you said. You know, give their fans something to cheer about. You know, opening up their Sun Belt play. There's a lot of good little schools in this conference, man. I'm telling you, you know, it's probably the conference that's probably been doing well overall and play ATS making the gamblers money. You got Coastal, James Madison, Georgia Southern. Coastal's 3-0, Madison's 2-0, Georgia Southern 2-1, App State,
App State
2-1, Marshall 2-1, and you got OD. They got their first win, and Georgia State, which is a worthy opponent, sitting at 0-3 at the bottom of the heap. But you know, OD played. You know, they went in there and took care of business against big brother little brother matchup against Virginia Tech. Opened up the season with the W, and then East Carolina is always one of these teams that's really, really, really tough to play. You know, they're hard to gauge. They're big. They're physical. They always put that product on the field, which was an L. And then they went on the road and lost a 2-point game as an 8.5-point dog to Virginia. So 2 Virginia games, because they're Virginia OD, and they one outright win with a cover, obviously, as a dog, and one as a 2-point dog as a cover. An 8.5-point dog as a cover. So now they got to come back home, and they got to play the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Now, my only question here is they're kind of in unfamiliar territory, being as a favorite, even though it's a shorter number. But the thing that scares me on this play is the Red Wolves. They've been averaging 34 points a game, and they got James Blackman, which is a good buddy of mine that used to play at Florida State back in the day. He's like a fifth-year senior over there. So it's not like that program's in total shambles, but I think it's a tough spot here. But you don't have an argument for me backing the play. I'm not going to argue with you about that. I just think I want to see what they do as a favorite here, because I would say let me see something here. Hang on one second, boss. I was looking at something here. So on the road with that thing is ticked all the way up to 6.5. Wow, you're getting some strong back in there. So I would think I was going to lean towards the under here in this spot, because I think OD is defense, like you said. You look at the games that they've won and snuck away, and the games that they covered, they've been low-scoring games. So I think it bodes well, even though the Red Wolves are scoring 34 points a game, and they have been covering. They're 5-1 ATS their last 6. If OD is going to sneak this one out, I think they're going to get involved in a low-scoring game, because I don't think they want to get in to the Red Wolves. Has always had a pretty solid offense overall. They go through the air a lot. I mean, they're pretty well balanced, but I think they got 413. They've been averaging like 413 yards a game, which is not a ton, but normally they have a bigger pass game, and it's been down a little bit, even though, like I say, Blackman's over there. So he threw for like 275 yards, and let's see, they lost to Memphis last week, 44-32. So they're off a 2-game losing streak too. So they want to get their first win in conference, and probably the number there going from 3.5 to 6.5. So maybe the better part of the number got away, but I like the under here.
You want to take that official?
I'm not betting it, but I lean towards the under.
There we go. Well, let's jump into your next one you got lined up right here. Is where are we going to? Florida and Tennessee?
Yeah, UT and Florida, I guess, is the other one I got, right? Yeah, Florida and Tennessee. Interesting game here. So we all know how the Gators opened up against Utah. Tough win, gutty last play win. Then they catapulted this team from not even being on the radar to the top 25 to like number 12, which I thought was crazy, but they did it. And Tennessee, they had high expectations coming in, with Hooker and Josh Heupel's second year, and of course Florida's first year with Napier, which I keep a close ear to the Gators, even though they're not one of my favorite teams because they're like 30 minutes up the street from where I live. So I hear a lot of inside stuff going on with the Gators. Does it equate to cashing tickets all the time? No, but it's just good to know, what's going on over there. But I know, like when we had them against Utah, then we knew that coming off that next week would be a little tough spot for them to match up with Kentucky, which they wound up losing that game outright. Where Anthony Richardson threw 2 picks in that game, one for a pick 6, so that wound up costing them. So Florida's always a touchdown away from a cover or a turnover away from cover or losing the game, it seems like. And I think we get that same scenario here. Even though they went down, UCF, they played USF last week down in Tampa, and they struggled. They barely came away with the win. They won by 3 points there. So I think they were already looking ahead to Tennessee in that spot. So that was one we missed last week. We should have been all over that one. But now they got to go up to Neyland Stadium where they're going to have 108,000 screaming Tennessee or volunteer fans playing, screaming. And the Gators, these games used to be notoriously 3-point games for years and years and years. But, a lot of those players and coaches are long gone. But just the way the game sets up here, with Heupel running about 80 plays a game, Florida's going to go out and try to grind this team down with the run. Now, Florida always has solid offense and defensive lines. You can always bank on that with the Gators. Sometimes the skill position players, through progression, they weed in and out of them, and they had the 2 quarterbacks last year. But they did go with AR. They had a lot of hype behind this kid. I think the thing with him is, they're going to try to establish a run, which is what Florida always does. But and then Tennessee's going to counter with the pass. Hooker's going to try to move the ball with his legs, throw the ball downfield. Tennessee, if you look at the games they played, they've been in some high-scoring affairs. So the only way to really beat Tennessee is to keep them off the field. And I think Florida might have a shot to do that, to cover the number. I think the number's a little bit high. I want to say it's 11.5, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not looking at the spread right here, but let me see. I know you usually have it on the screen, but I'm going to say it's 11.5.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Let me bring it up. It went away.
Bring that up for me so I can look at something.
There you go, 10.5.
10.5. Okay. So I think my personal opinion on this spot here is I think the game is going to be a 1-score game. I think it's a little bit of an overlay from being 2 scores. I think Florida is going to limit. I think they'll be able to control the line of scrimmage on the offensive side and kind of limit Tennessee's plays maybe to like 60s, high 60s, which, Tennessee's always going to hit that home run. They're going to try to, but Florida, I think they can hang with them here. I like Florida in the dog row. I don't like them as a favorite. And I think the look here is, Florida control the clock. Tennessee is going to get their points, obviously. Florida will get some of theirs, but I don't think Tennessee wins by margin here. I think we see the game maybe if Tennessee wins, they're going to win bigger than 10.5. If they win, it's going to be like a 70-point game. But if the game stays under 60 points, Florida's going to cover the number. I'll just put it that way. So the only way the game gets away from Florida if Richardson has a pick six or Florida has two turnovers, 2 to 3 turnovers, and Tennessee doesn't have any, maybe one possibly, and then you're probably looking at an over. But then if Florida controls the clock and keeps Tennessee off the field, I think we'll see more deliberate style play from Florida to kind of control the clock, and I think they'll be able to do that. I really do. I think Florida will be able to control the clock because, like I say, what I've seen of Tennessee towards the end of last year and starting this year, they're very susceptible on the defensive side. I don't think they're going to have enough to go up the upper level SEC teams like Bama and Georgia. But Florida, they're a step below, but I still think they're strong enough in the trenches to kind of make things work their way and keep that below 10 points. So I'm taking Florida plus 10.5.
I like it. We were higher on Billy Napier coming out early in the season. He did a great job. Did take a loss, but did a great job coming out with his Florida team. On the road for him this time, I don't know. He's a very detailed guy. I can imagine there's a bunch of stuff going on with him getting this troop on the road and showing them how he moves on the road. So that's going to mean a lot in this game. And Tennessee, they have a whole lot to prove in this game, in the season. Just a whole lot to prove. I'm scared of this game. I'm totally staying off. This is probably one of the better games on the card for the weekend, but just one that I definitely want to watch. I want to see how Billy Napier adapts, and I want to see if Tennessee is the real deal. But no play for me on this one. I like what you're saying, but I can't even.
I'm going to gamble a little bit on Florida. I just think the pace. To me, it's all about the pace in this one. Controlling the line of scrimmage a little bit better than on the defensive side. Versus, to me, the matchup is Tennessee's defense versus the Florida offense on the game clock. But Tennessee's quick strike, so if Florida lets their guard down, they'll blink an eye, and Tennessee will put 6 up on the board.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna bring y'all over here to the west side with this USC Oregon State game. I seen somebody in the chat. Shout out to the chat, man. We got a lot of people in there. Prince, Razor Sharp, got a lot of old guys and new guys. Dami Gunn, Top Set, D Mills, Brian Stevens, Trans Canada, Major Mills. There was some more in there. Shanita Ham, just a whole bunch of them. I appreciate everybody stopping in with us and checking us out. But this USC team, man, I think is very explosive. I think that everybody's bought in. This is the Ferrari of college football right now, considering how much money they got poured in this team, and the type of athletes they pulled out of the transfer portal, and what Lincoln Riley's over here doing. But at the same time, I would agree that Lincoln Riley, and it usually happens with most college coaches, you carry your bad traits with you. This is a high-power offense, not much defense, or should I say, just like he was at Oklahoma, the defense was always a work in progress. We never could tell if they had really improved or not, because in the big games, we got something different. So this USC team, he speaks of saying that a lot of missed assignments, a lot of miscommunication could be from so many transfer portals adapting to the new coach. So I'm gearing on improvement, like I did last week. And I expect that defense to improve a little more. And I even expect the offense to improve a little more too. This Oregon State team, we really liked this team early against Fresno State. I cashed that one. But, that was playing a small step down to them, being a Pac-12 school, going to play a Mountain West school. But this one right here is more of a big dog of the Pac-12, playing a team that's usually towards the bottom of the Pac-12. But, they got all word is out that they, this and that. And, they did barely pass Fresno State. Then last week they went and played, I believe, Montana State. and they ran all up and down the field on them, so they probably feel good. But I don't think that's going to transfer over to this USC team. That secondary USC team, they like turnovers. They like moving around back there and all that good stuff. So I think the line is way too low. Maybe this should have been 10.5, like the Tennessee game and the SC's game should have switched lines. Tennessee should be -6.5, and SC should be -10.5 in this one. Bookies, if y'all really wanted some people to buy in, but I like USC at this short price right here because I don't think you'll get this price. I mean, they play Utah coming up soon. You'll probably get a low number on them, but if they beat Utah and continue to go anything past that, you probably be lucky if you catch a 6.5 until we get deep into the playoffs or something if they make it that far. So give me SC -6.5. One of my better plays that I like the most of the day, and it's at the end of the day. So no matter what you do at the beginning of the day, hey, you still got a chance at 6:30 with USC.
Yeah, I know. My question was, why is the line so cheap on this game, man? If you go back and you look at Oregon State's win, like you said, 2 Mountain West, they beat Fresno, right? And what was the other Mountain West team they beat? Boise, you said?
No, at the they opened up. I forgot who they opened up against, but they just beat Fresno State. Then they played Montana State, the FCS team, last
they got
week.
2 Mountain West wins. But the Mountain, I know the Mountain West is where you do it the best, but Mountain West had a slow start. So, with the 2 Mountain West wins and the Montana State wins, we can't get too celebratory. I mean, it's 3-0. That's a good start for them, obviously. But when Fresno, then you can say, well, look at what Fresno went to USC, and they got their dicks handed to them by them, and then we had Hander got hurt later in the game, and then they didn't score anything in there. I think they were down by 1 touchdown when that happened. But regardless, common opponents, if you use that as a measuring stick there. But I know Corvallis we always hear is a tough place to play, which there's no argument there. But USC seems to have the edge in this series overall. But the numbers concern to me, man. Like I'm looking at the number, like you said, I'm like, this is a game that should have been 10.5, and the other one, been 6.5 in my book. But looks too cheap. Sometimes when things look too good to be true, they are. But I would have to say USC or pass here. I'm not going to be on it, and I'm not the best West Coast guy when it comes to picking these Pac-12 because I always struggle mightily in the Pac-12. Once in a while, I'll get lucky and hit a game in the Pac-12, but I'm probably going to pass on this particular spot here. But no argument for me. I mean, everything lines up the way you're saying. The only downside is the road trip to Corvallis. I don't know what the history is there, but I know Oregon State's pretty tough at home. Maybe it's because of Lesser. I don't know who owns it, but it says USC's 4-1 the last 5 ATS against this team, and I'm sure the numbers were a lot higher back in those days too. And you got to attribute the number now to, like you said, the first-year coach. Addison making that move from Pitt to the West Coast. All-world receiver they have there. And the thing I like about this USC team is, you think that there would be an air raid, with Riley, but Williams is doing a nice job of distributing the ball, averaging like 2 touchdowns through the air a game. So, and they're scoring points, so they're not putting the onus on him and Addison. It's just, it's a well-rounded offensive football team. Like you said, the stars coming out, and the defense, they got Grinch. They brought him over from Oklahoma with Riley. So it'll take time to get that personnel up to speed too. So they're going to try to, bring a different style of football out west. Not so much the run and gun, but maybe, play a little bit of defense too at the same time. So no argument here. It's a no play for me.
There we go. Now we're rolling into Big Ragoo's special last pick of the day.
I got
this
one more.
Go over here to Texas A&M and Arkansas.
Aha! Yeah, A&M was my best bet of the week last week. That was my show pick on the our Saturday morning show. I had them like A&M in the first half, minus the 3.5, whatever the heck it was back then. But I just, the way I, it was a simple cap for me, that particular spot there, because they got not that they got embarrassed because App State, like I said, nobody wants to play App State. Ask a lot of these other schools about playing App State, but App State, they kind they got them. You know, they ambushed them and they got them where they wanted. The lack of offense is a concern for A&M, and it showed up in that game, and it almost showed up in the Miami game. But that defense was so lit against Miami last week. I mean, I don't think there was many teams that could have went into College Station and beat A&M last week. Just my opinion, you know. Now, be that as it may, you got a very capable Arkansas team here, the top 10 football team. And the weird thing about it is, you know, they're in all the polls. But if you go to that site that we like to use, Team Rankings, you go up and down the predictive ratings there, and there's not one mention of Arkansas like in the top 35. I mean, I scrolled it all the way down, and UCF is in there before Arkansas, which is befuddled to me. I'm like, how the hell is that even possible? But Arkansas is a well-rounded football team. A&M cannot go in there with the mindset that, you know, they're going to win it on the backs of the defense, because there's a guy on the other side of the field, KJ Jefferson. You know, they got to account for him all times of the day. They didn't have that last week with Miami with Van Dyke, excuse me. Miami, you know, their first-year coach coming in, and you know they can't get caught sleeping here. I know they brought Max Johnson in, who was the quarterback at LSU. You know, he started his first game last week against the Miami team. So Miami didn't play a bad game, but you know, like I say, the big difference in that game was A&M didn't make the mistakes and the defense was lit. So that was more of a I want to say game manager type game, but Max Johnson had his struggles in that game too. So Arkansas is pretty good on defense. They're a little weak in the secondary, but I don't think A&M poses a big threat either. So coming off of that big win against Miami at home, now they come back, you know, and I think this is at a neutral site, if I'm not mistaken. They classify it as A&M as a home team, but I don't know where the site is, but I don't think they're playing in College Station. I got to go back and look at that somewhere. I don't think this game is in College Station. It's at a neutral site somewhere. So I have to go back and verify that. But my first look here is, you know what? Did you find anything on the site, the location?
I'm looking it up right now.
All right. But I'll keep talking.
Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium.
Okay, so they're playing in Jerry's house. I think we should have known better, right? So, but anyways, I think the offensive woes of A&M trying to get things figured out. Defense are solid. Arkansas a little more balanced on offense. You know, not as good on defense, but I think they might present a little bit of an issue here for A&M going off back-to-back weeks of being short numbers, and then take College Station, take the 12th man out of the equation here. You know what? I'm going Arkansas plus the points, baby.
Hey, I like it, man. I think this is one of the teams that you know, Jefferson can use what he does well to their advantage right here. So I mean, it's a reason why that line's right there, right? So I think I totally agree with that one. And then why not fade a team like Texas A&M coming out for a big win against Miami? You know, just a lot of good reasons to take Arkansas in this spot. And Arkansas can run the ball. But, you know, teams that do the bases very well, like running and defense and stuff like that, they last a long time and go a long way. So I agree with that. I wish they would have gave a better number, though. I mean,
yeah, it's short.
2.5 is not much of nothing. Give me 3.5, and I'm feeling much better.
Yeah, I'm still trying to gauge that one to figure out which way. I haven't looked at the percentage of the bets or the action coming in on that game. I can get a quick look while you're looking up the next one if you got one. You got another game you're going to talk about?
I don't got another game. Well, I do have another game I want to talk about, but not a official play that I want to put out there.
Yeah.
But I really like Air Force. The number was kind of, you know, it's minus 24 in that one against Nevada. I know that there's something going on the Nevada's in the Nevada locker room, and we don't know what the end result of that's going to be. So they've been playing a little down lately. Now, I was thinking, like, why is Air Force coming off a loss and they want to lay 24 points? Well, I almost slipped my mind to mention that last week for Air Force, luckily I was on Wyoming because they were ill all week. and they had very limited practice last week because many of the players caught some kind of virus or something. It wasn't COVID. They just got sick. Only one player that was meaningful didn't end up playing, but the fact that they didn't get to prepare well for that game could have contributed to the loss. So this week, they're probably getting everybody back with much higher hopes and everything. And I don't really have any plays that I like because I don't like Boise laying all that points, and I don't like going against them as well. But I'm just going to take this little play just to have some action on Friday to be 100% right here, you know. So I'm going to take this play on Friday, minus the 20 floor. I might take it first half. I might split the unit first half and full game and see how it comes out. But, you know, teams like Nevada that's not doing well, you play a team like Air Force who's going to give it to you, give it to you, give it to you, give it to you, and you eventually get pounded out. So I think that Air Force scores like 40, but I can't guarantee how many points Nevada scores or don't for it. But I know the coach over there, Ken Wilson, he's more of a defensive guy than an offensive guy. They were stripped of 8 of their offensive players when the coach went to Colorado State. So the offense is kind of like a remake, and the defense is his baby. But I don't think that defense is enough to stop. You got to take a week off. You want to take teams versus a military team whenever they had a week off to prepare for the option. But these guys never had a week off. They're going into this game against a well-oiled option attack, and they showed last week a little bit more that they can put the ball in the air a lot more too. Hadik Daniels actually threw that bad boy around a little bit last week. So I expect him to score on this one, and I'm going to take Air Force with the big number this week.
Yeah, we're seeing just to touch back on that Arkansas game, Texas A&M, DraftKings, and what's the other fantasy joint? Anyways, they got 1.5. So the numbers are varying. They're 1.5 to 2.5. So the numbers are starting to creep down on that game. So if you're thinking about jumping in on Arkansas, you might want to do it now because it's moving. And I think the percentages of the bets, I'm not sure how much of it's sharp, how much it's squares or whatever, but the money, most of the money and most of the bets are coming in on Arkansas right now. So, and the numbers move to full point. So, just FYI for you guys out there.
Well, let's review the plays real quick, man. You know, another week of football. This week 4 week, like I said at the beginning of the show, week 5 would be a lot better. It'll be enough sample size to really determine, you know, what these teams or where they going or what they doing. But right now, you know, you got a lot of out-of-conference games and stuff. We're not 100% sure what's going to go on. But quick review of our picks, and I did this on the fly. Let me bring it up real quick. So I'm on North Carolina minus the 1.5. I'm not going to take the under as official pick, but just know that I endorse unders on Notre Dame whenever you can get them. And then the next one is Old Dominion minus the 6.5 at home. Then I like Ole Miss minus the 21.5 and under 65. And then I like USC minus the 6.5 right there. Big Ragoo, on the other hand, make sure I got this correct, Big Ragoo, because I did this while we was on the show. Michigan and Maryland over 65. Wake Forest plus 7.5. Florida plus 10.5. And Arkansas plus 2.5.
Yeah, I got all dog money and over. You got all favorite money and under. But it's all different games.
Hey, who would ever thought? Bam. There it is there. We'll see how that works going into next week, man. I want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. Jared White, my guys from Brothers and Bets in here, my man Marley, OG Wham, Leonard Porsche Jr., George in Vegas is in here as well. My man Teece, Prince of the City. What's up, Prince? Shout out to you, man. Once again, Razor Sharp, Top Set, D Mills, Brian Stevens, Trans Canada, Major Mills. It goes on. Don Play, Ix Snizzle. All of them came to see us today. We appreciate y'all. And we'll be back here next week on the same exact time, on the same exact day. So, you know, come back, enjoy our celebration with us for these picks next week, man. We appreciate y'all. and we're gonna get out of here. Anything
Peace.
you want to say to him, Big Ragoo?
No, hey, thanks for pulling up a chair and sitting down with us, and appreciate everybody making the comments tonight. And of course, you're going to catch us back here next week, like Boss says, and we'll see you Saturday morning at the Pub Hub Show, 10 o'clock a.m. East.
Yep, you heard it here first.
The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce.